So with the state that the world's in at the moment, I thought I would do a little bit of a random movie recommendation video because, you know, people are stuck inside their homes and stuff. They're bored. They're going to be looking for this kind of thing. So I just thought I'd put my 2 cents in, say some stuff that's kind of underrated and, you know, movies that I think people should see. Yeah, I'm sticking to semi-underrated stuff. You know, you might have heard of all of these even, but I'm just saying I'm not going to be naming a bunch of Marvel movies out here or anything because you know all of those. You don't need to be told those. Everybody knows those. Another thing that I'm going to do for each pick in this video is tell you where you can watch them. At least in Australia. I don't know about the rest of the world, but like in Australia, I'll tell you where they're streaming and all that kind of stuff. Alright, so my first pick is actually starting to get popular. I know I said that I was going to say underrated stuff, but because of Parasite, I think Korean cinema is starting to boom, and with that comes Train to Busan, which is a movie from a couple years ago, which is a zombie movie, which would put you off, I know, straight away, because it's like, I get it, like The Walking Dead and all that stuff, like who cares, I'm so sick of zombies and whatever, but if you watch Train to Busan, I think you might just change your mind. It's got a fresh take on the genre, which is like just overdone. And, you know, the premise is kind of cool where they're stuck on a train and stuff. It's pretty good. And that can be found on the Australian Netflix. The Fundamentals of Caring is another movie that's on Netflix, which is about Paul Rudd. Well, not actually Paul Rudd, but the character that Paul Rudd is playing, basically looking after this disabled kid. And it's kind of just this wholesome, really funny kind of movie. They go on a road trip and stuff. I don't remember everything about it, to be honest. Not in a bad way, but it's like kind of forgettable. In a way, it's just one of those movies that like, if you've got a bunch of time, you'll chuck it on, you'll watch it one go and be like, yeah, that was pretty good. Which just might be exactly the thing you're looking for at this very moment. Hush is a horror movie on Netflix, which is about a deaf girl being terrorized by a killer outside her house. And we kind of experience like a different level of fear here because we see it from her point of view, and we kind of experience the deafness in certain scenes and understand the advantages and disadvantages that come along with that for her and the killer, to be honest. Like in some ways she has advantages over him because like it's her house, she knows what's going on, you know, it's home game for her. Also, it's directed by Mike Flanagan, who is the guy that directed the show The Haunting of Hill House, which is fantastic. That dude's awesome, so this is a massive recommend. Colossal is another movie that can be found on Netflix that stars Anne Hathaway as she kind of discovers that she has the ability, I guess. She accidentally discovers that she has the ability to control this giant monster, and so like when she swings her arms and steps and stuff, she is accidentally destroying cities and that kind of stuff. And it's kind of, I just really love that kind of creativity, and and this movie really appeals to me for that kind of reason. But it's also more personal than you might expect. It's not just a dumb action movie or comedy or whatever about monsters and stuff. The monster is like an allegory for something that's going on personally in her life, and it's actually really interesting. That can also be found on Netflix. Two Night Stand is a movie that is on Netflix. Had to check there for a second. And this is actually kind of a timely sort of movie because it's about them getting snowed into their apartment, and so they're basically just spending time together. Originally they're having a one-night stand, but then they get snowed in, so it becomes a two-night stand. It's kind of a lame title and everything, but I remember liking it quite a lot. I like these movies that are very dialogue-focused and everything, and you know, they're like charming and stuff. It just might be the right time to watch this kind of movie. Irreplaceable You is another movie on Netflix, and this is kind of just the saddest movie you'll ever see. It's not exactly the type of movie that I would always watch just because it's so depressing for the sake of it. Like, I feel like this is the type of movie that you watch when you feel like you want to cry. You know what I mean? But it's very romantic, and I connected with it a lot. I remember it being very powerful and very emotional. Maybe I'm just a little wimpy boy. I don't know, but it's very good. This is on Netflix. Logan Lucky. This one's not like that obscure or anything. Directed by Steven Soderbergh. So how do you say that guy's name? Soderbergh. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, and this is just kind of a really fun movie. It's like this heist comedy type of thing. Got Channing Tatum and Adam Driver in it, and I don't know, it's just super fun. Like, it's not like the best movie you'll ever see in your life or anything, but it's definitely a good time. You know, if you want to kill 2 hours or whatever, it's really fun. It's also got one of my favorite lines that I've ever seen in a movie in the past month or two, that is, because I only watched this for the first time like maybe a month ago, but it's become one of my most quoted movies in just the past month because I keep saying it and annoying my wife. It's the line where Adam Driver says, "You sucked my arm off." And if you watch the movie and you understand the context, it's fucking hilarious. It is well worth watching the entire movie for just that line alone. I love it so much. The Babysitter is a horror comedy that's on Netflix. This is about a kid who is being babysitted, being looked after. And halfway through, he finds his babysitter and her friends are actually in a satanic cult where they are sacrificing and killing people. And the movie is basically just about, you know, him getting away from them from then on. But it really plays with the tropes and the types of characters that are in these movies. It's kind of like this play on these characters being normal, innocent people, but then they actually turn out to be killers. I find it really hilarious. Apparently this movie's very unpopular. People do not like it. It's got quite low ratings and stuff. People have crapped all over on it. I like it personally quite a lot. So if you watch it based on my recommendation and don't like it, I guess you're in the majority. And sorry, I guess I'm wrong, but I like it quite a lot. That's on Netflix, if I didn't say. Fighting with My Family is a movie that was so much better than anybody ever would have thought that it would have been. This movie's about a wrestler, but it's not really about wrestling, if that makes sense. It's more about the characters, it's more about the kind of drama and everything. It's more about ambition and kind of driving yourself to get to where you want to be. It's surprisingly inspirational, it's surprisingly funny. It's really, really well done, and I don't think anybody was expecting that from this movie. But I bought it. I thought it was good enough to buy. I think it's great. This movie can be found on Stan, the Australian streaming service Stan. If you're not from Australia, you're probably like, what the fuck is Stan? If you're from Australia, you might also be like, what the fuck is Stan? Because who cares about Stan? Everybody has Netflix. Who is Stan? But if you got Stan, it's on Stan. I've said Stan way too many times in the past 2 sentences, but Stan. Inside Llewyn Davis is a movie that I only watched a couple weeks ago for the first time, to be honest. It's about this musician just trying to make it, but he's got some bad luck and people don't quite like him and all these sorts of obstacles that are going in his way. It's got Oscar Isaac in it and he's amazing in this movie, and the music is actually really good in this movie. I'm obsessed with a couple of the songs from it. And this is by the Coen brothers, so you know you're in for good stuff there. So I know that this isn't the most obscure pick ever because of that. Like, it's fairly well known, but if you haven't heard of it, if you're one of the people that are not that into movies and are watching this for whatever reason, highly recommend it. That one can also be found on Stan. The Impossible is a harrowing movie about a tsunami that happened in 2004 in Thailand. I had to look that up, to be honest. And it really goes to show just how fucking horrible a natural disaster like this can be. And the performances in this, some of the best, probably maybe ever. Honestly, this is fucking fantastic. Yeah, I only watched this year as well for the first time. It came out in 2010, so I was 10 years too late. Has 10 years, but highly, highly, highly recommend it. So much so that it actually goes up here, which is my favorite movies shelf. So yeah. And that movie can be found on Amazon Prime, which I guess is a thing people have, but again, the only one I have is Netflix. I don't care about all these other ones. Everything should just be on Netflix. So anyway, another one that's on the Amazon Prime, the Australian one that is, Atonement. This movie actually blew me the hell away. There's one scene in this movie that goes for like 5-6 minutes or something that's just one take, and it involves so many people, so much movement, so many specific little things that would have had to go right, and it stresses me the hell out watching it because it's like, oh my god, everything is at stake. If somebody screws up in a second right now, you're gonna screw up the entire scene. And honestly, that one scene makes this entire movie, but the rest of the movie is also really, 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 really good. Next up is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. This is the best of the Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy. I know this one's not obscure at all. You've definitely heard of this one. I'm mentioning it because I only watched it for the first time last month or so, and it's completely blew me away. This movie illustrates what humanity is all about, and it's kind of beautiful in that way, and it's a very well put together film. It's very smart. It definitely has some things to say about people and language. I love how much this movie has to say without actually saying words. You see the communication go down with just a few gestures and just a few visual cues and all that sort of stuff. Highly, 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 highly recommend it. I bought this one on Blu-ray because I loved it so much. I need to buy more Blu-rays, by the way. Another movie that absolutely blew me away, again, that I only watched for the first time this year despite it coming out in 2013, is Her. This is another highly intelligent film that explores love as well as many sci-fi elements like artificial intelligence, and it's really just, it's about online dating, it's about love, it explores those ideas of obsession, it's about freedom in love, doing what you want. Honestly, if I had to watch this in time for my favorite 100 movies video that I made, this would have made it on there for sure. Sorry, by the way, the last movie and this movie are not on any of the streaming services in Australia, but they can be rented or bought digitally on YouTube or obviously torrented or whatever if you want as well. I don't torrent personally, but yeah, just a few more quick ones. Money Monster with George Clooney is pretty good. That can also be rented on YouTube. And American Animals, that's got Evan Peters from American Horror Story in it. That's another heist movie that I highly recommend. Lastly though, because I don't want this video to be way too long, is The Clove Hitch Killer. This again is not on any of the fucking streaming services, of course. Why would it be? But it can again be rented on YouTube if you want to do that. This movie is about a kid who suspects that his dad might be a certain serial killer that is known about in his small town, and it's about his paranoia about his dad. And you don't know what to think. You don't know what to believe, and it's very interesting in that way. It kind of lends itself into thinking about different contexts, why people do what they do in certain ways, and how things can look bad in certain ways, like characteristics and behaviors and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I absolutely love that one. Anyway, yeah, so that's all. I don't know, I could go on all day. I could just say 1,000 billion recommends, let's be honest, but you know, I don't want this to go on forever. So that's all, I guess. Like, comment, share, and subscribe and stuff. And watch more of my videos if you're bored and you're looking for stuff to watch, hey? Hey!